Greetings, ghouls. Tonight we have an experiment for you. An experiment in cross-cultural musical macabre. So why don't you crank your stereos to 11 and let's get busy here at the Midnight Chamber. What can I say? Blitzkid and Spook, two of the early 2000s Fiend Force spearheads. Absolutely brutal batch of just horror punk sing-alongs. The Spook coming out with something a little longer, but still just as rockin', and Blitzkid just banging out two really fantastic, really B-side songs. The album, the 45 in question, came out in 2004 in response to Blitzkid doing their first European tour. I believe it was the first Hell Nights tour. And it was with the Spook. I've not been able to find flyers, and I cannot remember for the life of me. I'd have to dig real far back in my some of my archives to maybe have a flyer. I'm not 100% on that. But it was their first European tour with the Spook. That I'm fairly certain of. And they wanted a 45 to sell. Because nothing was cooler than putting a 7-inch out. And in the 90s, there was a whole slew of underground bands that really kept vinyl alive. I mean, you would get bands that put one or two full lengths out, but they had 15 7-inches behind them. So every tour, they'd have a new 7-inch to sell. It kind of died off in the early 2000s. And by the early 2000s. Bands were still putting 7-inches out, but they really, punk kept that alive. I mean, there wasn't a lot of metal in the mainstream, in country, and all that. They had dismissed vinyl completely, never thought it was going to come back. Little did they know we would come to 2018 and vinyl's outselling every other physical medium again, which is fantastic. But in 2004, this wasn't the case. After the 2002 release of the Blitzkid Mr. Monster split, I remember hounding TB and Ghouls that I wanted a 45. I was in my early 20s. I was really, really, really into punk. I was really discovering death rock and all this kind of stuff. And I loved 7-inches. Absolutely, it's my favorite medium to collect. I mean, there's really no medium of music except maybe 8 tracks that I dislike. But if you had to ask me what my favorite was, I love 45 singles. Absolutely adore the things. You get just specialized little artwork. It's other stuff from the band that kind of brings out the personality of the band, but it's not like the same tired ass full-length cover that you always see. I mean, look at the Misfits. They're a great example of how a band can really have collectible 45s. Everyone knows the cover of Walk Among Us. Everyone knows the cover of Earth AD. Not everyone will know the cover of 3 Hits from Hell or Beware or Night of the Living Dead. And they're really just the extra detail put in that can accentuate, give a bit of artwork to a song is fantastic. This 45 is no different. It gives off that silent movie and 40s and 50s horror movie feel that Blitzkid is known for. And the Spook were definitely in that same channel. Just right in the same pocket with Blitzkid, though they never got quite into the silent movie aesthetics quite as much as Blitzkid, but they were definitely there, and it fit. And I believe this is a shot, a bit of artwork that it's showing Victor von Frankenstein bringing the monster to life. if that does not accentuate exactly what this album and this band, both of these bands really embody. I mean, this was really, this was kind of, when Fiend Force really started pumping things out, it was cranking the locomotive of horror punk really up. It now had a name, which I'm not really big on subgenre names, though music fans are absolutely horrible about subgenre names. But it gave it speed, and this just added fuel to that locomotive's steam engine. It just added more fuel to it. So we have Blitzkid, consisting at the time of Goolsby and TB, and then new additions, Ray M on drums, and Jason Trioxin from Mr. Monster fame on rhythm guitar and backup vocals. And if I can say so, he did not fuck the backing vocals up on this at all. Just don't stick him lead in front of a mic and we'll be all good. And then the Spook, I'm not as familiar with the Spooks lineup, but Dean Roca, Ross Fortu, Carl Off, Lester Vale, Jack Ill, and Terrence Tula consisted of the band, and I don't believe that band changed all that much. They put out a couple good, really, really kick-ass records, and I think the lineup stayed roughly the same. So the record itself was this nice orange, 500 press. So getting back to that. Alright, so here's the Blitzkid Spook split kind of up close. Got all the information. Look at that, really old pictures of Blitzkid. I love it. I remember right around this time they played a venue in Germany that was in a castle. I'm not. I might have been in Hamburg, might have been in Cologne. No. There's a castle venue in Prague, I believe. Somebody will correct me about that, but it was really neat. And really awesome pictures of the Spook. All their nice thank yous and whatnot. And then the back cover. This was a really awesome way to bring both the Spook out on the road, who I believe was on that tour, and then Blitzkid's first tour over there. Got this really great 45. And it just has a basic paper sleeve, and then here is the actual vinyl itself. Spooky orange. There's the Spook side. And then we've got the Blitzkid side. Quite lovely. Sounds great. In the early 2000s, really, except for a few small record companies in the U.S., Europe is where vinyl was being pressed. From mid-90s till mid to late 2000s, I mean, that was where it was happening. And in 2004, I wanted this so bad, I hounded Goolsby to bring vinyl back. I wanted one. I'm like, can you bring me back one? Make sure I get one. And he did. This one came directly from him. You know, they got back. He gave him a couple days, and he, we did the transaction, and he sent it up to me. I think he brought back more than one for me. I think he brought back maybe, I don't know how many he brought back. I won't even pretend to know. But it wasn't much. It was 500 press, and a good chunk of those got sold on the tour. It is still one of the more common 45s to find. So there's that. Discogs currently has 2, 3, maybe 4 of them for about $20-25 a pop. I didn't look at the top price on that. I know there's at least one on there for $20. Once they started putting out vinyl on No Balls Records, forget it. Those records are so insanely hard to come by, and when you do find them, they are expensive. The only other record that is common to find for Blitzkid is Apparitional, because it came out on a bigger label that was a sub-label of Nuclear Blast. I believe it was Nuclear Blast. So that album, I don't know the pressing on it, but it was a lot more, and it's a lot more common to find. And that might be the only full length that you can commonly find. I don't know, maybe not the U.S., because once they got on Fiend Force, I don't believe they had any U.S. pressings unless Goolsby got a hold of some and put them on the Blitzkid store. And so that's a problem. But yeah, around that time, that we were really stoked about that first U.S. That European tour. The boys are only from 2-3 hours from where I live. Bluefield, I think, is a 3-hour drive. And they set up shop, and Ohio was a second home for them, which was great. Shows started happening in Dayton, Ohio, which is directly west, and there was a club called Elbows, and they played there quite a bit. But then we started, we kind of veered down to Cincinnati, which was great because down there you had the Vladimirs, you had the Reanimated, you had Shriek, you had these really great little scene going on down there. The Epidemic. They almost got on Fiend Force, but not quite. But that's a subject for a different day. Blitzkid are heavily involved in that record as well. But what we're talking about is the Every Day is Halloween 45. So around that time, they started playing Sudsy Malone's, and I remember right before that tour, they did play Sudsy's, and I had burned a whole bunch of albums, including Ignite's new one. So it was right around the time Darkest Days came out. I burned all those for the trip over. Tracy wanted, TB wanted some music to listen to, so I burned him some stuff, and we just, we got excited. And I remember me and some of the other guys that were relatively close in contact with the band, we kind of followed what they were doing. This would have been in the MySpace days. Yeah, it was back in the MySpace days. Wow, that's a while ago. This record is now going on 14 years old, so it's been a good long time ago. So we would follow the progress. I remember when they posted a picture of all four guys in the stairwell of a castle in, I think it was Prague, that was a music venue, which I believe the place is closed down now, which is kind of crappy, but that was really cool. They got to play in a freaking castle, and that ended up being a band photo, like a promotional photo, which Goolsby sold a bunch of those, so that's pretty cool if you can get your hands on one of those. Pretty neat. I've got one that actually predates that. I've got one with Billy Bones. So, yeah. The two songs that are on here are Unearthed and Sammy Gone Wrong Again. And the Spook come with Spook House number 13. Now, the two Blitzkid songs, one, Unearthed, was brand new, and then Sammy Gone Wrong Again was a remake of the first song. I believe the first song on the Revisited EP. It's probably not the first song, but it's an old song from their very first EP, Revisited. And they had, so the tale goes, Goolsby told me this years ago, they had won a Battle of the Bands in either Princeton or Bluefield and that's how they got the recording time. That was the prize from the Battle of the Bands. They got recording time. They went in and just banged those two songs out. So that's how that happened. And then the Spook brought theirs. That's how we get this EP. And yeah, so if you can find it, get it. It's still out there. A couple, like I said, 2-3 on Discogs right as we speak. So this is a cool one to add to your horror punk collection if you can find it. And for tonight, that's all I've got for you. So, in the immortal words of TV Monstrosity, long live the horror.